सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे। रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमु रामाय तस्मै नमः। रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। In Nididhyasanam, we have been following the technique mentioned in Vedanta Sara. Even the verse that we saw today was something we had seen in Vedanta Sara class. Meditation is finding the right address of Shuddha Chaitanya. Once that is done, how quickly we are able to reach there. Meaning the process starting from quietening the mind and shifting attention to Chaitanya, and then meditating upon what is the Mahima of that Chaitanya. These are the 3 steps. If we can hold on to it, then meditation becomes seamless. Otherwise, we spend a lot of time thinking about what we are meditating upon, and we might also have different ideas about meditation. So Vedantic meditation, this is what Swami Sadanandji mentioned in Vedanta Sara. The first step was Savikalpaka, where we are paying attention to Advaita Vastu in spite of seeing the name and form. The example given was of clay elephant, that in spite of seeing the clay elephant, attention is still on the clay. Like that, in spite of seeing thoughts, in spite of seeing the meditator who is meditating, and the vritti also, which tells me I am not this. In spite of perceiving all this, attention is still on Sakshi, which illumines everything. That Swamiji said is Savikalpaka Samadhi Abhyasa. Okay, I just wanted to connect it back to what we had studied. That way it's easier as we build upon the text. In the last session, we had seen 3 entities which create 5 Bhedas. One is Jiva, second is Jagat, third is Ishwara. Now these entities are 3 to begin with, but we want to come to the final teaching of Advaita, where all these 3 Bhedas, or all the 5 Bhedas created by the 3 entities, they are removed. But what happens is, if we directly go to removing these Bhedas, there can be a lot of questions about how is this applicable to us. Most often it will be questioned in Vyavahara only. What am I to do with this knowledge? You said everything is non-dual. There is no duality whatsoever. But the moment we step into Vyavahara, moment we go into transactions, there are so many things which demand Bheda. So many things which demand us to accept these differences. So how should I reconcile both of it? That is why in the last session, whatever we saw was about these three entities from a sadhana perspective. How to look at each Bheda from a sadhana standpoint, so that even before we go to Advaita Vedanta, lot of strength is there through sadhana. Today is Gita Jayanti, very auspicious day to reflect on this fact. Bhagavan says in 7th chapter, Asamshayam samagram mam yathajñasyasi tachruno. Asamshayam means I will tell you that knowledge by which you will become free from all doubts. And samagram means I will tell you that knowledge by which you will see the result of this knowledge in your life. Samagram there, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji writes, Phalena sahitam. Along with result, that thing will happen. Otherwise, we will always end up in this situation where we say we are studying Vedanta for several years, but the contentment which Vedanta should have brought, the acceptance that Vedanta should have brought, the sweetness in transactions that Vedanta should have brought, those results are not seen. Is anything lacking in my technical understanding of Vedanta? Probably not. I can explain all the nuances of Vedanta. I can also explain the intricacies of different technicalities which are there. But when it comes to Vyavahara, there we will see the result of knowledge is missing. Now, this is more important for us than anybody else. We don't have to declare to the world that result of knowledge has come or not. The contentment or sweetness, that part is something which we are really seeking. And majority of that result is related to sadhana in these three entities. So the first one was Jeeva-Ishwara-Jagat Bheda. That Bhagwan is somewhere and world is somewhere. Means world is right in front of me, but Bhagwan is not here. So this Bheda, when one overcomes, the sadhana that we had seen that will help us overcome is Jagate Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam. Or whatever is said in Purusha Suktam, different facets of Bhagwan's nature, that Bhagwan only says, why are you looking at me as one form? When Bhagwan goes away to Vrindavan, goes away from Vrindavan to Mathura, that is a message he writes to gopis. That you worship me as one form. Now don't have this idea that I have really gone to Mathura. So this sadhaka has come from Traita to Dvaita. Traita means what? I am here. I am here. World is in front of me. And God is somewhere else. So between God and the world, he has dissolved that difference. So whenever he interacts with the world, whenever he interacts with people in the world, his bhavana is, I am interacting with Bhagavan. So this is the first Bheda we had seen from a sadhana standpoint. The second one was Jeeva-Ishwara Bheda. Now within this, the first one, Ishwara-Jagat Bheda, Jeeva-Jeeva Bheda also will be taken care of. Right? Because Jiva are actually part of the world only according to us. When we interact with other people, that is how we look. This is where we saw the example of that Mahatma Ji, who saw Lakshmi Narayana in every person. And this I had heard from that Brahmachari. That Brahmachari was 70 years when he was sharing this example, that he said, when I was studying, this is what I had seen, and that impact was so powerful. How my teacher is seeing individuals as Bhagwan, not as another Panchamahabhuta. So through that sadhana, Jeeva Bheda is also taken care of. Ishwara-Jagat Bheda is also sweetened. Then Jeeva-Ishwara Bheda. In the beginning of our sadhana, we don't have to remove that Bheda from a Vedantic perspective. In particular, if we are teaching Balvihar, or if there are children who might not have this background of what are the preparations needed for Advaita Vedanta. At that point, this Bheda is the best one to hold on to and get the conviction that if I am able to turn my mind towards the Lord, Bhagwan will lift me from any kind of difficulty. Yasya smarana matren. So smarana there means the ability to turn the mind towards Bhagwan. Smarana is not mere repetition without bhava. It is repetition with bhava, where the mind can really turn towards Bhagwan. Janma samsara bandhanat. The bandhana which is in the form of janma and marana, but also all different experiences within janma. Today in Bhaja Govindam, the verse we are going to reflect upon is, it just happened coincidentally. Bhagavad Gita kinchid adhita, Ganga jalalava kanika pita. Means Bhagwan is telling there, even if one teaching of Bhagavad Gita we can hold on to, little bit, Bhagavad Gita kinchid adhita, and try to internalize it, our life will become free from fear. To whatever extent we are able to do it, to that extent we can head towards fearless life. And one of the injunctions in Bhagavad Gita is, Bhagwan says, you think of me, I will take care of you. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paritaha upasate. In all ways they are reflecting upon me. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam. Regularly they are doing this. I take care of whatever they need in their life, I give them. Whatever they don't need, I will make sure that they are not given that. Yoga kshemam vahamyam. Now it's a good news. We should not feel dejected that there are some things Bhagwan will not give also. He said very much. Because one who knows our life as a whole, he is the best one to decide what is right for us. Why did this come? Tuning mind towards Bhagwan and absorbing it in him will bring all those results. So this is Jeeva-Ishwara Bheda from a sadhana standpoint. When we go to Siddhanta standpoint, we should appreciate how this Bheda is treated differently. Okay. And the last one was Jeeva-Jagat Bheda. Meaning I am different and world is different. The best way to sweeten that Bheda is by making our work as worship. We should remember, work made into worship will not happen naturally. Somebody told one of our Swamiji, he said, I can't come to your lecture. Why is that? Because I'm too busy with work and that is my worship. Swamiji, हम कर्म कर रहे हैं, कर्म ही हमारी पूजा है. But Swamiji said an interesting thing. भैया कर्म को पूजा बनाना पड़ता है. कर्म पूजा नहीं है. Work by itself is not worship. Work has to be made into worship. That will come only when we have this bhava that wherever Bhagwan has placed us, that is our altar, and he alone is expressing as that altar. And his point was, even a thief does his work very well. Somebody who has to rob a bank, he also does so much planning, he also does so many things. If you say all work is worship, what will you tell his work? He says, no, work is something which we should know what is the bhava with which we should be doing. And it's very easy to miss this whenever attention goes on ourselves. So this is a sadhaka, Jiva working with Jagat, but his attention is never on himself. All these are different siddhantas we study. In Karma Yoga, Raman Maharshi picked up this particular siddhanta and he said, Jagata Isha Dhi Yukta Sevanam. So Dhi Yukta or Isha Dhi Yukta, that is the main part there. Serving with this idea that my Bhagwan alone is this Jagat. Then it really doesn't matter what type of work we are doing. Somebody might be sweeping the floor. Somebody might be doing some other type of work. He says all of that is worship to Bhagwan. Okay, so these were the 5 Bhedas we had seen last time from a sadhana perspective. Now when we come to Advaita Vedanta, what is said there is, none of these dualities should remain, or all these dualities should get dissolved with the knowledge of that Advitiya Vastu. So for every Bheda, we should have clarity. How is this Bheda going away from a Vedantic perspective? Okay, so Ishwara-Jagat Bheda. Ishwara-Jagat Bheda. What was the sadhana part? That Bhagwan alone is appearing as his creation. Mattah parataram nanyate kinchidasti dhananjaya. I alone am appearing as his creation. That was the sadhana part. Now Siddhanta is knowing that essential nature of Bhagwan is pure consciousness. The conditioned nature of Bhagwan is creation. The Saguna Rupa of Bhagwan is creation. Nirguna Rupa of Bhagwan is Sakshi. So Bhagwan says, know me in my essential form also. So Jagat Mithyatva, when it is said, it is Mithyatva of Bhagwan's Upadhi, not Mithyatva of Bhagwan. Bhagwan is Shuddha Chaitanya. So whenever we have question about, is Ishwara real or not? We should ask this question, is Jagat real or not? If Jagat is real and we say Ishwara is unreal, we say we've not understood what is Vedanta trying to say about Ishwara. One person went to Maharajji and he said, Swamiji, I am a Nastika. Maharajji looked at that boy and he said, everybody please clap for him. Please clap for him. He said, Swamiji, why did you say, why are you making everybody clap? He said, I came to know that you are a very scientific person. Means you never take random decisions. You always try to search for data. You try to do an experiment before you come to any conclusion. So if you have concluded that there is no God, that means you have searched every nook and cranny of this world. You have explored all the different ways of understanding Bhagwan, and then you have concluded that there is no God. He got his answer. Means without thinking, without even appreciating what is Vedanta trying to say about Bhagwan, or any other scripture for that matter, any other religion for that matter, to directly conclude that there is no Bhagwan. In Hindi, he would say, "Ye aapka bauddhik palayan hai." Means this is you are running away intellectually. Bauddhik palayan means that. Means first explore or understand what is Vedanta trying to say about Bhagwan. Saguna form is consciousness with world. Nirguna form is only the world. Nirguna form is only consciousness. If this is understood, then lot of things will fall in perspective. So this is Ishwara-Jagat Bheda. So that is dissolved with this knowledge that, really speaking, nature of Bhagwan is Shuddha Chaitanya. So every Bheda has to dissolve. And what was Jagat that we were seeing or we are seeing? We say that is only an appearance. You see the beauty of Vedanta. It is holding on to Advaita, yet it is making us appreciate Bhakti. The moment you say Jagat is real, we are out of Vedanta. Moment we say Jagat is real, there is no Advaitam there. First Bheda, Ishwara-Jagat Bheda. The other two Bhedas, which is Jeeva-Jagat Bheda and Jeeva-Jeeva Bheda. How will this Bheda go away? The sadhana part was to see this entire creation as Bhagwan's Upadhi and then serve as that altar. Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam, that was the sadhana part. Now the Siddhanta is, or the knowledge part is, the essential nature of Jiva is also Shuddha Chaitanya. Essential nature of Jagat is also Shuddha Chaitanya. The conditionings which we call as Jiva, conditionings which we include in Jiva, have really emerged from that same Chaitanya. And the world, what we call as this Nama Rupa, that world also has emerged from that same Chaitanya. So in whichever text, starting from Tattva Bodha, when we study Srishti Prakriya, how creation emerged, this is what they want to tell us. Right now, we are making a difference between Jiva and Jagat. We are saying that your sense organs came from the Sattvic aspect, Rajasic aspect, physical body came from Tamasic aspect. And Samashti also came from Maya Upadhi. Space, air, fire, water, earth. And from that, Panchikaranam happened. From that, the world of names and forms, not only in this loka, all 14 worlds. Vedanta Sara, Swamiji emphasized that point. All 14 worlds are made from the same Panchamahabhuta. But the main thing is, what is this Panchamahabhuta made up of? It is the same. There is no difference between Vyashti and Samashti Panchamahabhuta. So with this, Jeeva-Jagat Bheda, I am different and world is different, that Bheda should get dissolved. Okay, so the essential nature of Jiva is Chaitanya. Upadhi of Jiva has emerged from Chaitanya, put it that way. And Upadhi called as Jagat has also emerged from the same Chaitanya. And whatever has emerged from Chaitanya cannot be real. Because Chaitanya is Nirvikara, it is non-changing, it is only Vivarta, not Vikara. These two words also Vedanta Sara, it was used. Vivarta means it is appearing differently without undergoing any change. Rope appears differently as snake without undergoing any change. But milk undergoes change and becomes yogurt. That is called as Vikara. Without undergoing change, appearing differently, that is called as Vivarta. These are the building blocks of Advaita Vedanta. If this block is little shaky, then we are in different darshana. It is not Advaita Vedanta darshana, it will be some other darshana we'll be entering into. So time and again we should try to think of it as adhyasa. Between consciousness and conditioning, again and again reflect with the help of superimposition examples. Rope snake, mirage water. Aparoksha Anubhuti, there are around 20 examples given. All of adhyasa only. One moon appearing as two. Every example has a purpose. But here, what we should appreciate is the conditionings again have emerged from that Chaitanya. Really speaking, there is Advaitam. Okay, so this is Jiva Jagat Bheda. On slide, it is very easy. to animate and show. But the whole point is, it should help us visualize, right? What is happening, these three Bhedas and everything. And on our own, we should reflect on each one. The last Bheda is Jeeva-Ishwara Bheda. After taking care of everything, then comes this Bheda of Jeeva-Ishwara. Somebody might say this Bheda was never a problem to begin with. Rather, none of these Bhedas were problems to begin with. Did we ever feel that Jeeva-Jagat Bheda is there, Jagat-Ishwara Bheda is there, Jeeva-Jeeva Bheda is there? He says, my problem is Raga-Dvesha. But Vedanta expects that we are already working on it through sadhana. Time and again, we don't have to go back to Raga-Dvesha and try to mix up Vedanta with that. Bhagavan said this in Atma Bodha itself, right? Ragecha sukha dukkhadi buddhau satyam pravartate sushuptau nasti tannashe tasmat buddhestu natmana. Bhagavan said, don't get too bothered by this Raga-Dvesha because it is really there only in buddhi. When buddhi dissolves, all Raga-Dveshas dissolve. So try to pay attention to this Chaitanya. Try to abide in this Chaitanya. Whatever is not paid attention to, that will get dissolved naturally. Means we don't have to bring it up too much in our spiritual journey. Let it be there wherever it is. We should focus main on our Advaitic goal. So Jeeva-Ishwara Bheda will go away through Mahavakya. Tattvamasi Mahavakya, or any Mahavakya when we hear. This is the main purpose of Mahavakya. To remove the Bheda between Jiva and Ishwara. But again, we should remember what it really wants us to do is not give reality to Jivatva. Not give reality to individuality. Not give reality to this world. The half-baked understanding is sometimes to say Jagat is Mithya, but Jivatva is Satyam. And we'll have different ideas about Advaita Vedanta also, if we take it in that way. You say, how do you say this whole thing is Mithya? I am seeing everything. Vedanta says, because we are seeing, that is why it is Mithya. In camp, we were seeing, there is one statement in this Upanishad Ganga. In Hindi, these statements are very powerful. Jo tu hai, wo tujhe dikhta nahi. What you are, that you don't see. Jo tujhe dikhta hai, wo tu hai nahi. What you are seeing, that you are not. But in the scene, the most important thing to add is ahankara. My desire to respond to the world and my experience of the world. Both of these are seen. These are two expressions of ahankara. Somebody said something to me, this ahankara records. And then next time when I meet that person, there is a desire to respond. We don't have to take that example to make ahankara drishya. I'm just saying how ahankara works. It's very hard to make ahankara drishya in that situation. But we should come up with our own ways of identifying this ahankara. Bhagavan would say, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi Ji, because the thief and the cop are the same. That's why it's very difficult to identify this ahankara. The moment we start inquiring into ahankara, it as though disappears. And you wonder, where is ahankara? I am Brahman. But the moment we enter Vyavahara, moment we are back, or we just step away from this Brahma Vichara, this ahankara again creeps in. So that is where correcting our mistaken identity and again going back to Shuddha Chaitanya. So this Bheda between Jiva and Ishvara is removed through Mahavakya Vichara. Okay. So this Bheda also should go. Meaning conditioning of Ishvara is Jagat, conditioning of Jiva is Panchakosha. Both should get dissolved in Shuddha Chaitanya. Okay. So I hope this was helpful, because when we started this topic of appreciating Bhagwan's nature as Nirguna, that is when there were many questions about how this is possible, what are we trying to do, how does this translate into Vyavahara. All of those facets should become clear. There should be no doubts about both these things. I like this animation. Everything should get dissolved. What should remain is only Advitiya Vastu, at the same time appreciating the sadhana part of it. Okay. Now to explain this point, one Mahatma Ji gives a very beautiful example. What is the point he's trying to explain? That whatever Bheda we are seeing, whatever differences we are seeing, it is only because our attention is on physical body. Not even on mind. First of all, it is on our physical body. With that, we see the whole world as different. Means we see so many differences in this world. He said there is one Vayu. Out of these 5 Mahabhutas which are there, Pancha Mahabhutas there, one Pancha Mahabhuta is Vayu, one air. That same air, when it enters different conditioning, it gets the title of prana. When we look at our own prana, for sake of simplicity, just translate prana as breath. Prana is actually subtle. It's not the breath, but let us say prana is just the inhale and exhale. The moment the Samashti Vayu enters one physical body, we say this is my prana. And that same Vayu enters some other body, other Jiva. We say it is that prana. In animal body, it is animal prana. But you ask Vayu, which prana do you belong to? Are you prana of human being, Jiva A, Jiva B, Jiva C, or that animal? Which prana do you belong to? What will Vayu say? Vayu says, I have no Bheda. Bheda is from your standpoint. Bheda is not from my standpoint. This is exactly what consciousness says. Now, we should not make consciousness as different from us. We should abide in our nature as consciousness and should be able to say this statement. Whatever Bheda is seen, it is only because we have identified with some conditioning or the other. And the only way of coming out of prana bhava is to abide in Vayu bhava. In this example, if I want to come out of prana bhava, I have to abide in Vayu bhava. If I have to come out of Jiva bhava, what do we have to do? Abide in Brahma bhava. Means we can't get rid of Jivatva staying as a Jiva. Staying as individual, I cannot let go of prana bhava. I have to shift attention to Vayu bhava in this example. In the same way, I have to shift attention to that consciousness, abide in it as my Swarupa. Then only I can let go of this Jiva bhava. See, Jiva bhava means samsara. Jiva bhava is not another technical thing that we feel we don't know what we are talking about. Getting affected by the world, feeling that I'm going through experiences. That itself is Jiva bhava. And the only way to come out of that Jiva Bhava is to abide in Brahma Bhava. Bhava don't get mixed up with Bhavanaha. It is not some kind of repetition of thought. Brahma Bhava means this clarity of knowledge that I am Brahman. In that way. Mahatmas, they would give very rough examples sometimes. It is to wake us up. Okay. So they are not concerned what those examples are in a modern context. So Maharaji would say, one person came to him and said, there are so many things people keep throwing at me. There are so many things people keep throwing at me. So Maharaji asked, where did you sit? He said, I sat in a trash can. I sat in a trash can. He said, if you sit in a trash can, naturally there will be so many things thrown at you. And he would say, sitting in ahankara is like sitting in that trash can. That's why I said, example should be taken in the right perspective, but it will hit its point. Moment I enter ahankara, I cannot complain what experiences are coming. That karma phala decides. Whatever it will bring, it will bring. But at some point, I should start feeling karma phala itself is a bondage. If there is praise, there will be criticism. If there is honor, there will be dishonor. If there is sukham, there will be dukkham. One who wants freedom from that pairs of opposite, that person is a mumukshu. And these pointers are to help us go in that direction. Okay. Now this is an elaboration on what we just saw. Okay, page 107 in our Kenopanishad book. Differences which are seen are only due to conditionings. From Chaitanya standpoint, there is no way to establish difference between two jivas. No way to establish difference between any of those three entities. Jiva, Jagat or Ishwara. That's what Bhagavan is saying here. Etena pratyekam jnanadi bhedah pratyuktah saukshmya chaitanya sarvagatattvadi avisheshe cha bhedahetu abhavat vikriyavatve cha anityatvat mokshe cha vishesha anabhyupagamat abhyupagame cha anityatva prasangat avidyavat upalabhyatvat cha bhedasya tatkshaye anupapattihi iti siddham ekatvam. For Bhagavan Shankaracharya, it is siddham. He says, if we can, we should align our thought with him. What is siddham for him? Bhedasya anupapattihi siddham. There is no duality whatsoever. This is so clear. Etena pratyekam jnanadi bheda pratyuktaha. Whatever bhedas you pointed out with respect to smriti, jnana, apohanam, everything is only with respect to conditionings. From Chaitanya standpoint, he says Chaitanya is saukshmya. Saukshmya means subtlemost. It is Chaitanya Swarupa. It is of the nature of consciousness. Sarvagatattvadi. It is all pervading. These things, if you say Atma is different in every jiva, then you should point out what is the difference. Is it more sukshma in one person and less sukshma in another person? Is it shining more brilliantly in one person and not shining as brilliantly in another person? Is there a difference in that way? If there is, then you have to establish it. You can't just make a statement and run away. He says you can't establish difference in Chaitanya. There is only one Chaitanya in every being. Manisha Panchakam, we saw this. Ya Brahmadi Pipili Kanta Tanushu. It is not that in an ant there is smaller Chaitanya. In Brahmaji there is brighter Chaitanya. That same Chaitanya is illumining my thoughts. Or put it other way, I am illumining thoughts of this mind. Bheda hetu abhavat. There is no Bheda from Chaitanya standpoint. If you say, okay, let us put it in a dialogue format. Somebody comes and asks a sadhaka, have you understood your Chaitanya? Whatever number of years of Shravanam we have done. Have you understood your Chaitanya? What will that sadhaka say? Say yes. Say yes. Then he asks, so your understanding of I is consciousness, right? Your understanding of I is Chaitanya. You are Chaitanya, you said yes means what? I know that I am Chaitanya. Now if somebody asks, are you sukhi dukhi at times? Are you sukhi dukhi at times? What will that sadhaka say? Now we should go with our anubhava. Then only this word will open up. We will say yes. Both anubhuti is there. It is not that I have not understood. At the same time and again I feel, I get happy, I get sad. So he says, both cannot be true. Vikriyavatvecha anityatvat. Means your understanding of aham, if it is undergoing modification, if once it is becoming sukhi and it is becoming dukhi, whatever undergoes one modification, it will undergo all 6 modifications. And final modification is vinasha. You know that 6 modification, right? Asti, jayate, vardate, viparinamate, apakshyate, vinashyati. He says if your aham is vikari, don't say sakshi is vikari, atma is vikari. They are vikari. But all of that should land on aham. If I say I am vikari, that means what I have understood as Chaitanya, that will be subject to destruction. Vikari vastu will be vinashi. So really speaking, sukhi, dukhi, that anubhava doesn't belong to true I. Sukha and dukkha belongs to ahankara, which is drushya. In that way he has understood. Okay. Vikriyavatvecha anityatvat. If you see vikriya in yourself, that means Atma will become subject to destruction. Sakshi will become subject to destruction. Mokshecha vishesha anabhyupagamat. Abhyupagamecha anityatva prasangat. Everybody has accepted that in moksha there is no samsara. If you say you are ahankara, then whatever is there in bondage, same thing you are getting in moksha. What is the point of striving for moksha? That is what he is saying. Mokshecha vishesha anabhyupagamat. And abhyupagamecha anityatva prasangat. If you accept reality to ahankara, if you accept reality to sukha dukkha, then Atma will become subject to destruction. Meaning sukha dukkha is perceived, but it is really not there. Different experiences are perceived, but it is really not there. Okay. Avidyavat upalabhyatvacha bheda se tatkshaye anupapattihi iti siddham. Bheda is perceived, Bheda is given reality only in the time of ignorance. Really speaking, from consciousness standpoint, there is no Bheda whatsoever. The example of Vayu and Prana, it is very powerful example. The only way to let go of Prana Bhava is by attaining Vayu Bhava. So the only way of getting rid of Jiva Bhava, this individuality, is to abide in that Chaitanya. There is a story that Mahatmas tell that sometimes we feel this Jivatva to be so dear to us that in spite of studying Vedanta, we don't feel like letting go of it. The example they give is of a monkey putting its hand in a jar to take peanuts out. And it is said that's how they trap the monkey also sometimes. There'll be peanuts and it puts its hand. By the time the opening is so much that only its hand can come out. But it tries to pull it out. On one hand, it doesn't want to let go of the peanuts. The desire is there, I want to have the peanuts. Other hand, the person behind is running after it. The one who wanted to catch that monkey. Like that is our situation. Means we can let go of samsara if we let go of jivatva. But on one hand, vishayas are also tempting. Different experiences are also giving joy and sorrow we don't want. At least giving joy, those ones we want. So it is like that holding that peanut. On one hand, he sees samsara is coming after him. But on the other hand, he wants those peanuts also. So Bhagwan in this part of Bhashya, he is encouraging a sadhaka to let go of jivatva. Logically, so many points he mentioned, how jivatva cannot be our essential nature. Okay. In Hanuman Chalisa, there is one chaupai, right? Nasai roga hare sabapira, japata nirantara hanumata pira. Puja Guruji in his commentary has written about that word roga. He says roga in English is called as disease. And disease, if you just literally break it, whatever does not keep us at ease, that is a disease. Some foreign particle has entered and it's fighting, body is fighting to push it out. He says, identifying with body is our first roga. Identifying with mind, which is not who we are. That is the first roga. And Bhagwan's grace will help us to get over it. So that second line, Japata Nirantara Hanumata Pira, means so many things have to take place. First, we have to grasp this teaching and stay with it for some time. And whenever Bhagwan gives us opportunities throughout the day, try to bring this teaching in our vyavahara. Now comes a very important topic. This is the last part of Ishwara Siddhi Parkarnam. What we started 10 classes ago, that is going to conclude with this part of Bhashya. But every part is so beautiful that I come prepared sometimes with this idea that we'll complete Ishwara Siddhi Parkarnam today. I also get the idea we should complete Kenopanishad right away. But then I see, what are we going to do after? Study another Upanishad or another text. What is that going to tell? Same thing. So you might as well understand this thoroughly, go slowly and appreciate whatever Bhagavan is trying to tell us. Right? So now Bhagavan brings a very important point. He uses the example of this reflection. What is this vada called? Pratibimba vada. Pratibimba vada. Manisha Panchakam, we discussed this part. So there is pure consciousness, which is represented by the sun. And that sun gets reflected in water. And most of the time, our attention is on the reflection of that sun, which is in this water. Now, in this whole example, what is the flaw? Not flaw in the example per se. What is the part that we are trying to understand here? Sun is really up there, but it is being seen in a place where it is not. In water, sun is being seen. Only that part is what we have to correct. It is not that there is no sun to begin with, or the sun which is appearing is having some other qualities. Not in that way. Looking at the reflection, we can shift attention to the sun. The very fact reflection is there shows that sun has to be there. And the reflection which I am seeing, the same reflection I should take to see that sun. There are so many things getting reflected in so many other things. I cannot take some other reflection and get stuck with it. So here Bhagavan says the same thing happens with Atma and Anatma. The real place where Aham belongs is Shuddha Chaitanya, Sakshi, or Atma. Aham means I. Whenever we say the word I, the place where it really belongs to is consciousness. But because of error, that Aham is seen in reflections. What are the reflections? First one is Ahankara. Ahankara also we call as Aham. Then is all different kinds of thoughts. Ahankara, body, everything you add. And then different moods within those thoughts. The main point is the one who was bound, the one who had mistaken identity, same person will have the knowledge of true identity. Meaning after knowledge, either Ahankara remains or Sakshi remains. Both cannot remain with the same degree of reality. Ahankara was the one who was bound. Meaning whenever I thought of Aham, it landed mostly with some or the other conditionings. And with that, I had so many other samsaras, so many other things I was concerned about. Now when Vedanta comes and says, you are not this Ahankara, you are Shuddha Chaitanya, that same Ahankara realizes its glory as infinite. It is not some other Aham. That's why in Upadeshasara, what did Bhagavan say? Ahami nasha bhaji, aham aham taya, spurati hrut swayam, parama purna sat. Ahami nasha bhaji means when this Ahankara gets destroyed, meaning we inquire into the substratum and realize the falsity of this Ahankara, falsity of this individual. Right there, what shines forth is Shuddha Chaitanya. Meaning that snake was appearing in that rope only. So Ahankara was appearing in Atma. We don't have to go somewhere else and search something else. This point Bhagavan elaborates now. The best example for this is the one who is dreaming and trembling in the fear of dream. So many things happened in dream and afraid of dream. That dream sorrow will go only when that same dreamer wakes up. If my friend wakes up, my dream sorrow will not go away. So that Ahankara who thought himself to be bound, that same Ahankara, right there, I have to recognize consciousness. Okay, another question. Who was bound? Don't say nobody was bound. Because that's not how we feel. Option 1, Jeeva was bound. Option 1, Jeeva. Option 2, Atma. Shuddha Chaitanya was bound. How many of you say option 1, Jeeva is bound? Online, you can raise your hand like this. How many of you say Atma is bound? Nobody? Okay. Bhagavan Shankaracharya flips it for us. He says the one who was bound was Atma. The one who will be liberated is also Atma. You see, just now you said Atma is Nitya Mukta. Atma doesn't get bound, Atma doesn't get free. You see, that is what we want to tell. The very notion of bondage was there in this Atma. There was a notion of bondage in this Atma, Brahmakara Vritti came and removed that notion. In non-duality, there is nothing else other than Atma to begin with. Right? So even the one who is getting bound as though is Atma only. The one who is free is also Atma, but the knowledge is I was ever free in that way. Okay, you see how he says now. The main point here is Atmanaha Moksha Sanya, not Jeevasya Moksha Sanya. Tasmat Sharira Indriya Manobuddhi Vishaya Vedana Santanasya. Now it's a long sentence, you don't know where to pause. But whenever you hear these words, attention should go what is happening here. He says, how do we end up in this Jiva Bhava? Because there is a Santana. Santana means parampara happening of different experiences, different buddhi nritya. Nritya means dance of the intellect. Different thoughts are coming, different experiences are happening. Where is it rooted? It is rooted first in body identification. Sharira. Second is sense organs, indriyas, mana, mind, and buddhi vedanas. Means through this mind and intellect, there are different experiences of vishayas which are coming. And there is identification with ahankara. Ahankara sambandhat. You let go of this ahankara, like in deep sleep. There is no vishaya vedana, there is no mind, there is no perception of the world outside. But the moment we step into this ahankara, that example you remember, Maharaj's example, it's very powerful. Moment we step into this, all kinds of vishaya vedana start. Where is it rooted? Ajnana bijasya. It is rooted in ignorance, taking ourselves to be this finite individual. It doesn't belong to Chaitanya. These different experiences that we are getting, they don't belong to Chaitanya. Nitya Vijnana Anya Nimittasya. Nitya Vijnana means Chaitanya. It is different from this Chaitanya. Means all thoughts, different experiences. They are these factors because of which we feel bound. Jivatva is introduced in that way. Atmatva yathatma vijnanat vinivrittau ajnana bijasya vichhedaha. When the knowledge of the self dawns, when we inquire into what is the nature of this aham, when that happens, that same Atma who got bound or who thought himself to be bound, there is no gender again, himself, herself. Atma which was bound, that same Atma we give moksha sanya. Moksha sanya means it gets the title. That title is also from conditioning standpoint. Seeing that sun in water and giving reality to that reflection. It is the same as seeing Chaitanya in mind, seeing Chaitanya in ahankara, and giving reality to that ahankara. That is bandha sanya. What is moksha sanya? Knowing that the sun is unaffected by water, sun has no reflection to begin with. So moksha sanya is knowing that Atma is unaffected by conditionings. Atma has no conditionings to begin with. Identifying with conditionings, Atma gets bandha sanya. Viparyayecha bandha sanya. Disassociating with conditioning, it gets moksha sanya. Swarupa apekshatvat ubhayoho. Both of them are really from the standpoint of Swarupa Atma. Means bandha sanya is also Atma identifying with conditionings, and moksha sanya is Atma disassociating with conditionings. Okay. More we start thinking in this way, more we will Stay as Atma, stay as Sakshi, and then look at everything else. Otherwise, the difficulty or challenge is we stay as Ahankara and then try to look for Sakshi. Even the thought of identifying with Sakshi is a wrong statement, erroneous statement. Disidentifying with mind, that is what we have to do. We don't have to identify with consciousness. We don't have to identify with Chaitanya. Then we'll have all ideas. Okay, identify with consciousness. Where should I find consciousness? That it is there inside. It is the innermost. So some objectification will happen in and through those ideas. That's what Bhagavan is trying to break here. So with this, our Ishwara Siddhi Parkarnam is complete. It was a great blessing to go through this Bhashya, at least for me personally. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. It's very oft quoted in different places. Any topic of Bhakti Siddhanta, which Mahatmas elaborate, which Bhagwan Shankaracharya elaborates, the grammar part of that literature will come from this Bhashya. Even if you read Lalita Sahasranama, you will find Divine Mother's name in both ways. One is as the one who is giving karma phaladata. Seeking whose support, we can become fearless. Another is one who is devoid of this world, one who is of the nature of pure consciousness. Once we start paying attention to the words, we'll find both these names. Vishnu Sahasranama also, same thing. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.